Hi there and welcome to my next part of my shooting tutorial. I thought I would just update this a little bit to try and make the hit particles a little bit more efficient. Now if you haven't been following along so far, I'm going to put the starter stuff in the a link in my description down the bottom. Now what I've done is I've made a folder called FPS player and I've tweaked some of the scripts a little bit and tried to make them a bit better, so you can see that there's a player prefab that once you've imported this asset pack, you'll be able to just literally drag the player out onto any scene, and it has a gun and bullets attached to that gun. So that'll just be a good starting point for you as we move into the next bit. This is going to be a fairly short-ish tutorial. I also made a model in Blender, but please feel free to use anything you want. I've not included it in the pack. You can just put a few cubes down on your scene. When you play this, what you have is you should have the bullet shooting, but there's no hit particles just now, and what we're going to do is going to make the hit particles a bit more efficient. We're going to add in a game manager to do that. So if we look at what we have so far, we've got this, we've got the scripts inside the scripts folder, and we have our pool object, and we're going to use the pool object to create some hit particles. Right now, when the bullet hits, we would have instantiated a hit particle inside this bit. What we're going to do is we're going to make a particle system manager, and we're going to use that instead. So let's just get started with that. If we create a new C# script, and we're going to call this particle system manager, and then we'll open this particle system manager up. Actually, before we do that, let's create an empty game object in our scene, and we're going to call this particle system manager again. And we're going to obviously put the particle system manager script onto that, and then we can open it up and get started with the programming. Now we're going to do something a wee bit different again, slightly more advanced programming, in that what we're going to do is we're going to use this simply for our hit particles for now, but it can be extended to be any number of particles. So we're going to create a public game object, which is going to be the hit particle prefab. And we're also going to create this time a public static pool that is going to be the hit particles. So this is static because what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a static method when we want to create the particles. Now it's still inheriting from on a behavior, so we can still use the start because it's on an object on our scene. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create that pool at the start here. So we're going to say hit particles equals new pool, and we're going to use the hit particle prefab, and we're going to just right now we'll just type in 20 and make 20 hit particles, and then we're going to create we're not going to need the update, we're going to create our actual static class. So we're going to make a public static void, so it's a void return type, and we're going to call it create particle, and we're going to pass into it a vector3 for the position, and we're going to pass in a quaternion for the rotation. And then all we're going to do is access the hit particles pool, and we're going to activate the very next particle using the code that's in the pool, and we're going to pass to it the position that we pass and the rotation. So it's fairly simple. Why it's cool is, I'll show you in the next part of this, is inside of the bullet Because we have a static member of this class, what we end up being able to do is we end up being able to literally say particle system manager create hit particle. I think I called it something different, didn't I? Let's find out. Dot create particle, there we go. And what we're passing to it is where we want that particle to appear. So because it's static, we're able to access it simply by its class without having to create an instance of it. And this function is also a static function, so we can literally call it like a utility function. And it's got the statics have got the power of you can only really have one of them on the scene, but they've got the power of being able to access them like this. So we're passing to it the hit 0, the point of the collision for the position, and we're using this quaternion look rotation to work out what the angle of the object is that we hit. So if we save this all and jump back to our scene, what we should be able to do now is find the gun and the particle system manager, that was what it was, and then we'll just simply find the prefab that we want. So the particle system manager, we need the hit particles to go on here. When we run this code, what we should see is that just like with the bullets, we'll have a whole bunch of hit particles that get made. Now I had to change the hit particles a little bit if you are doing this from home and you're doing it from scratch. The hit particle system, what we had to do to make this not destroy itself is when we do the stop action, instead of destroy we choose disable, and then the hit particle itself needs to be disabled at the start. So the prefab, what we did was we just made sure it was disabled right at the very beginning, and we left play on awake on, so when it becomes enabled again it will actually just play, and that was all saved in order to work, and I've changed the colour as well. But yep, there you go. Then we have a little bit more efficiency using the pool system to do bullets and hit particles, and so we're nearly there for doing some kind of cool first-person shooter. The next thing we probably need to do is maybe add some recoil and then maybe add some enemies. Hope you've enjoyed the tutorial, and good luck.